Greetings. My name is Luis Molina, and I'm the host of the Life Puro. Today, we're joined by a father and son team as a cigar broker family, and we're glad to have them in studio. And just so you know, this is the first time we've had two people being interviewed at once, so this is new for us. So hope you guys enjoy it. And with that, Brad, Reed, thanks for coming in today.
Thanks for having us.
Appreciate y'all having me on.
So what do y'all think about this?
This is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I remember
It's
you guys
exciting.
when you're building this. Dad should be sitting here. It's really cool.
Yeah. Have you guys done a lot of podcasts?
First one.
I've done a couple live Facebook type,
Oh, live formats.
no
okay.
editing stuff. So
Okay. Yeah, that's going to be different.
Yeah, you
since-
had to wear flavored shoes, so if you stick your foot in your mouth, it tastes good.
Oh, man. So I mentioned, like I said, with the intro, you guys are father and son team, cigar brokers.
Correct.
And I know we'll get more into that with like who you rep. And before we get to that, we usually have a cigar. So is there a particular cigar we're going to feature or talk about?
Yeah, well, I've got an Illusione Epernay.
Okay.
Highclere Castle by Foundation,
Okay.
Connecticut.
And then I forgot my cigar.
Would you like one?
Yeah, if you don't mind. I'm kind of embarrassed.
We got
I usually
everything
have
under the
one.
sun, man.
Yeah. Well, I know some guys who are prepared better than I am with this. So what should I smoke or
Let's try to do the Highclere.
Yeah.
Here's our Maduro Highclere Castle.
okay. Yeah, so we were talking about that before we went live or recording about Highclere Castle. Can you guys give me a little more explanation about that?
Sure.
We can go ahead and cut light if you want.
It's a brand that Nick Melillo partnered with Highclere Castle people. The Highclere Castle is owned by Lord Carnarvon, who is the great grandson of the guy who discovered King Tut's tomb.
Okay.
So you'll see, if you see the video archives of them discovering King Tut's tomb, there's this guy smoking a cigar. That's him.
Okay.
I can't remember exactly how they got together, but Nick got to know Lord Carnarvon, and he went in the archives and researched the tobacco that they were sourcing to smoke cigars when they smoked cigars in the library, I suppose, drinking a snifter of brandy. And Nick came up with the Connecticut blend, and then he came out with the Maduro blend. So
Okay.
it's a partnership with him.
So, like I remember when the line came out, Highclere Castle isn't that? And I never saw the series on PBS. Downton Abbey.
Downton Abbey, that is the castle.
That's the castle.
That is the castle.
So yeah, there's I guess a reference with that for people who are familiar with Downton Abbey and all that. But I remember when we first brought the line in, it's maybe like 3 years or 4 years. I just thought it was a really nice cigar, nice blend. It's not as big of a seller for us, at least in our Baton Rouge store, just because I think the price point.
Right.
And people, I don't know, it just
Well, it's
doesn't get the love like the Tabernacle, obviously.
To me, it's the bread and butter of a high-end cigar. You know, like this is what it means to have a high-end cigar. It's just smooth. It's good. It's got a Brazilian Montefina binder underneath the Connecticut wrapper on this one at least. It's really good.
Yeah, it's not like smoking hot water. I mean, a lot of people look at a Connecticut and see the price point and they go, I'm going to get like nothing for $18.
Yeah.
You're actually getting a nice full-bodied or medium-bodied, I guess you would call it.
It's very elegant.
Yeah.
But a lot of flavor, though.
Yeah, absolutely. It's complex. It's not just, you're not just making smoke go back and forth.
Yeah, the Churchill size is probably my favorite
Yeah.
out of all of them.
Yeah.
Okay. And how many sizes are available in the Highclere Castle? Do you know?
There's the tough questions.
Yeah, I forget. I think there's
4 or
a
5.
Churchill, Toro, Robusto, Corona.
We can look.
Toro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we just carry maybe 2 sizes of each of the wrappers. And it's been kind of a tough sell for us, but it's one of my personal favorites from Foundation out of their entire portfolio.
Well, and the other, the sneaky part of it is nowhere on the box does it say Foundation. So people are kind of confused that it's, you might have it on the shelf as Foundation, and at the very end it says Highclere Castle. It looks like the brand left, like that Foundation stops here.
Yeah.
But it obviously doesn't. So I always tell my retailers put Highclere Castle in the middle of Foundation stuff.
Okay.
Sometimes they'll put it from the Charter Oak all the way up to the Highclere Castle.
That's interesting strategy. Yeah, I guess because if a retailer places it on one side of all of Foundation's other lines or core lines, the end consumer, if they're not being told by the tobacconist, they might assume that I guess it's just another one-off company or something like that.
There's a Maduro, Connecticut. What's all that?
Yeah.
I've never heard of these guys before.
So they offer it, like you said, in a shade and a Maduro.
And the Maduro that you're smoking.
And yeah, I'm smoking the Maduro red band. The shade has this white band. So yeah, I definitely recommend people to give High Clear Castle a shot.
And that the Maduro is a medium Maduro. It's not
going to punch you in the mouth or anything like that.
Yeah.
Very enjoyable Maduro.
Now they call the Maduro the Victoria, right? The Victorian? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and then
The Edwardian?
Edwardian, yeah.
For the shade, yeah.
Yep.
So they don't really, I guess, market it as like High Clear Castle Shade or Connecticut. It's High Clear Castle, Edwardian or Victorian. Okay.
Well, if you're in the business, you say it. Connecticut.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, let me get to know you all a little bit further. So I've known you for a few years now, Brad,
Yep.
and your wife, Marcia.
Right. She runs the back of the house.
Okay.
Does
And
all the dirty work.
Where are you guys based out of? Where do you live?
Dallas, Texas, or Plano, Texas.
Okay.
It's outside of Dallas.
How many states do you guys cover?
6.
Okay.
So we cover Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, and Kansas.
Okay.
And during the pandemic, I think we had 36 new shops open up in our territory.
Whoa.
So
Those got bombarded, huh?
unless they're going to make the calendar 13 months long, I needed some help. And so I was looking for help, and I put it out there to read.
Yeah, he was trying to get me for a while.
Okay.
And I didn't. We were telling him the positives about it, but I didn't want to make him do it because you know how that would work out.
Yeah.
And one day he called me up, and I guess the interest rates he's
Selling mobile homes for a living before this.
Okay.
Prefer Palm Harbor Homes. And I know it was a great job. Got a lot of experience from that job and everything else. Taught me a lot about sales and dealing with people. And then interest rates just went through the roof, and I was like really evaluating what I was going to do because I was telling myself through that first quarter or the last quarter of that year, I was going, what am I going to do? And I didn't hit my goals of exactly what I wanted to do. And I'm like, hey, Dad, is that offer still on the table?
Yeah, I got a phone call that said, hey, is that job offer still available?
Yeah.
I said, heck yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I bet
that-
you were excited. Huh?
Oh,
As a
yeah.
father.
So I live in North Austin, Pflugerville, actually.
Okay.
So I can be in any major city in 3 hours. So it really takes the load off of him living in Dallas, where you have to stay in a hotel in San Antonio if you're going down there. And so I can just be back in my own bed because it's only an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I've got to cover 4 other states north of me. So,
Yeah.
so
I'm seeing a lot of broker teams now starting to expand in terms of their human resources, like hiring staffers, where maybe it used to be like a one-man operation. Now, I guess with the volume, maybe seeing more cigar shops, maybe, or just to help,
giving the people
we
the
get so stretched out, right?
Just trying to give the people the service they deserve.
Yeah.
It's hard when you're just one guy covering 6 states. Like you're spread thinner than paper, So it's like you just needed help.
Well, as a retailer, that's one of the frustrating aspects of dealing with a company that doesn't have much infrastructure in terms of the sales and support staff, right? And I get it, right? With most companies, most larger entities have an in-house rep. They have a specific territory, and I'm sure there are quotas from these in-house guys where they got to visit maybe 5 to 8 shops a day, whatever that number is. So if I'm trying to call them or text them, sometimes I got to wait. And I'm fine, but I know that going in that it might not be an instant answer that I'm looking for. So it's nice to see people that invest in human resources to help with the service aspect of it.
Well, something about our backgrounds, at least for me, when you're selling mobile homes, you got to be on it all the time. You're dealing with people's livelihood, So I'm a real easy guy to get a hold of. Like if you call me, I answer no matter what. Like even if it's, hey, I'm in a shop, I'll call you right back. It's just one of those things. Like it's just communication. That's all it is.
Right.
And he was in printing before this too, and it's the same scenario. People need their product. So it's kind of the same mentality that I have when you're dealing with cigars. Like you're talking to these business owners, and this is their livelihood. So you got to take it very seriously. So that's the way I just approach it.
Yeah. Now, I met you for the first time at the PCA trade show.
Yeah, in Vegas.
Yeah, in 2023, July it was. And is this your first time, at least in our state, on the road?
Louisiana.
Okay.
First time in Louisiana. No complaints yet.
Yeah. Is this your first time in Louisiana?
Yeah, I mean, we've driven through it before, but I've never actually visited and seen the culture or anything else. It's completely different. I thought I knew English before I came here, but y'all spell things a whole lot
I
differently.
know. There are a lot of EAUX
Yeah,
especially in the Acadiana region.
There's some
Lafayette.
billboards I'm driving by, and I'm like, hey, how do you say that? You know, I'm just
Boudreaux, Thibodeau,
Yeah.
anything ending in that EAUX, it's pronounced like O.
yeah.
Oh yeah, we definitely have our own culture. So if I'm sure you're in for like a culture shock.
I like it for sure. Yeah.
Have you been to New Orleans yet?
No, not yet. No, that's still on the list.
Are y'all going during this trip or no?
Probably not.
Okay.
He's got to get back for something on Friday, but
Yeah.
Okay.
he'll be back soon enough.
Yeah. And I'm sure you guys have already started planning how you want to execute covering the territory, right? I'm assuming
Yeah, for sure. So,
you're not always going to be with your father or mother.
right.
Yeah.
So right now I'm in charge of basically everything Waco and South. They go from Waco all the way down to the valley, which is like McAllen. But right now this is basically my introduction tour, and then I'll be taking over Louisiana.
Okay.
So
Very cool.
It's just a little bit easier on him, trying to take care of everything else.
Yeah.
So
It's really refreshing to see what I call like the next generation of people in this industry, right? I'm thinking of other companies whose now the sons are coming of age in their 20s or 30s and trying to take over the reins from like the established, it sounds not to be disrespectful, but for the older generation, the more experienced generation, and to see their offspring taking the reins,
it's
it's
a
cool
breath
to
of
see.
fresh air too, So like if you see the same type of people every single day, and then all of a sudden there's a 27-year-old guy. I feel like I'm the youngest guy in the industry by
you're
like
young.
30 years,
Yeah.
So it's just a breath of fresh air. We get to talk about different things. I mean, I basically, whenever I'm in shop, I just talk about sports and whatever else,
Right.
like where he doesn't know a lick about sports. So
You're not a sports guy?
I understand sports, but he
Right.
knows, everybody's dog's names.
I'm the same way.
Where they came
Like
from,
I'm like you. I mean, I'll kind of keep, pay somewhat attention to sports, and that's probably bad for someone in
really just-
Louisiana, especially in a college town like LSU.
it's just really NFL for me. I couldn't tell you like 5 players on the Longhorns or anything like that, which is pitiful because I live in the Austin area. But sorry.
Okay. Did you grow up in Dallas though, or Plano?
Born and raised Plano, Texas.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now you're in Austin. How far away is that? Like drive time?
3 hours.
3 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just straight up 135, I-35.
Yeah. So you're obviously a Dallas Cowboys fan.
Unfortunately, my heart is numb. Yeah.
Why do you say that?
I mean, just getting my heart broken every single year.
Yeah.
I've said it the last 5 years. I don't care what the Cowboys do in the regular season. I need not 1 but 2 playoff games. I just want an opportunity to get to the Super Bowl. I don't care if we get there. I just want an opportunity. I just want to see it. I mean,
Right.
Rangers this year broke the seal on the championship of our
yeah.
drought. So. Stars almost made it last year. I'm a Dallas fan through and through.
Okay.
So all sports for Dallas for me.
Yeah. And Dallas is. I was talking about this with Cigar Rep a few episodes ago. Dallas is one of those cities that pretty much has every kind of sport.
Yeah,
right?
one of the only ones. There's a couple. I think Pittsburgh's one.
See, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dallas is one of the few. There's a couple. I can't name
Okay.
them all right now, but
Yeah. I'm probably one of the few retailers that's like non-sports really focused. Like I said, I try to like keep up just so I can hold myself in a conversation, but I'm not
yeah.
an expert. But I'm always intrigued by that culture and
Don't even ask me about golf or baseball or anything like that. But I can talk football.
football. That's your
Yeah.
sport.
Yeah.
Okay. See what else. So, have you visited a lot of the shops in Austin?
Oh yeah, I mean, me and Jim at Habana House North and Daniel and South and
I know
Daniel
Jim. He used to be our Zycar rep.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Zycar
Yeah.
Jim, all the time.
Yeah.
He's the only one I know that will play Pop Smoke in the shop. It's just a up and coming rapper. I'm like, how do you know this?
What?
It's crazy.
Are you serious?
Yeah, he's awesome.
man.
He's a good guy.
Yeah.
Daniel at Cigar Vault East. I mean, I'm all over the Austin area and San Antonio too, Houston. I'm starting to really establish some of those relationships now with like Forbes, Michael Joseph, a whole bunch of those guys. So.
Yeah. I'm always intrigued, and I've mentioned this on the podcast over the course of several episodes. I'm always intrigued by what's going on in the Texas market, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's one of the biggest cigar markets in the country. I don't have the data. I don't know if it's number one, but it's definitely worth for any cigar manufacturer to be in that market or have some
we get
presence.
with our low cigar tax, we got a penny a stick.
That's right.
And
And then a lot of importers and manufacturers are basing out of Texas instead of where it used to be like South Florida. Now you're seeing them consider Texas.
Well, we get a lot of calls being brokers for new cigar lines wanting to get representation in Texas.
Okay.
Because Texas is the prettiest girl that dance.
Right.
So
Right.
it is definitely a cigar market.
On average, you don't have to give me the specifics, but like how many requests maybe per year do you get from new importers or companies trying to
I'd say
gain
about a handful.
It's about a handful. Five, yeah.
Five-ish.
Yeah, because again, this industry, for people watching or tuning in that aren't really cigar centric, our industry is really still small.
I mean, our book's pretty big already, so we really you don't want to have a fishing net. You know, you want to focus on the brands that you do carry. So we don't really want to carry everyone.
Right.
You know what I mean, we want to take care of the people that we have.
When we get a call or request, we talk to them because we don't want to shut anybody out.
Yeah.
Because you never know in the future they might be. You want to talk to you, can't be the guy that told them no way.
Yeah. Of course.
So,
yeah. So you have. So it sounds like you have like your protocol, like the questions you'll ask.
Right.
Every prospective new client.
Correct.
Yeah. What are some of the questions? What are some of the factors that you look for?
They have to have their distributorship lined up. They can't be just shipping cigars out of the garage. They have to have some traction in Texas or in our territory. They have to give us all of our territory to sell it in. We don't want to carry it in 2 states because it's not productive. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
They have to be relatively established. Not that we wouldn't take somebody on that's brand new, but they'd have to meet all those requirements. They have to be ready to go. It's because if you're not well financed, you're not well backed, like you're not hooked up with a distributor, it's going to make life tough.
Right. And I ask that because we, as a company, as a retailer, have some of those similar questions or parameters whenever we get called on by prospective new cigar manufacturer brand.
Sure.
Usually the first question I'll ask them is, why should I carry you? Like, what differentiates you from all these other established brands? You know that every retailer has a finite space.
In the sales world, we call it a woofum. What's in it for me?
A woofum.
A woofum.
Oh, I like that. What's in it for me? Yeah.
I learned something new today.
Yeah. Because I mean, you obviously have to go through like this interview process to make it worth your while because we're going to ask you the same questions.
Right.
Why should we carry this company? And just to give insight, maybe for someone listening who is a cigar manufacturer in Latin America that wants to enter the U.S. market, we're always intrigued by if a manufacturer is really vertically integrated, right? As opposed to just being what I call a middleman.
Right. They pick the blend out at the factory and
it's maybe a stock, even if it's like a stock blend, they didn't even really have a hand in coming up and playing with the blends. But we've made exceptions, right? I mean, Nick technically is somewhat of a middleman, although I think he takes it a little bit farther. He probably sources the tobacco, given his experience,
sure.
right?
Right, yeah. Well, he's up to his armpits in it since a long time ago, 14 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, we jumped on board, as soon as he made the announcement that he was going on his own from Drew Estate, because of his experience and his knowledge of tobacco. So it's not to say that if you're a middleman, we won't bring you in.
Right. There's exceptions to everything.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's definitely appealing. Like, all right, well, that is a differentiator. If you're a new guy, that you control a lot of the steps. Price point is another. Quality standards.
Yeah, we don't want to sell something that's going to be a $4 MSRP. You know what I mean? It's just
that I wouldn't go that far. I mean, if it
fits in the shop.
Yeah, or it's $4 MSRP, but it smokes like an $8 cigar.
That's true.
That's intriguing. Kind of reminds me of, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Curivari, and their Buenaventura brand. Like when it was released, it was like a $5 MSRP, but it smoked maybe like double, maybe $8 to $10, and we just blew through it, especially when they got the number 6 ranking. I think that was back in like 2012, and it just flew off the shelves. So I wouldn't necessarily say like if it's priced really low that we would just
yeah. Well, like chop shop cigars, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. But yeah, I mean, those are some factors that we got to consider. Like, why should we carry you? Especially with our initiatives, we're starting to be like, we're trying to source our own cigars now.
Yeah.
And that's just to help us out to compete against like the big guys, the online houses.
Yeah, that's true.
But get your margins.
And also like our
margins,
our customers trust us. They're going to trust our judgment and things like that. So if we carry something that's not going to be up to our standard, they're just not going to, we're not going to push that. You know what I mean? They trust our judgment.
Right. So let's go back to what's in your portfolio. Who are all the companies you represent?
Okay, I wrote this down so I didn't forget anybody.
Yeah.
You know how that goes.
8 different cigar lines, 2 different accessory companies.
Okay.
So we represent 724.
Okay.
Cavalier, Freud, Illusione Foundation, as we've been talking about, Southern Draw, and Patina. Then we've got Lotus lighters.
Okay.
We've got Ellie Blue luxury accessories, and then we've got Sutliff Tobacco, and they also, through Sutliff Tobacco, we do Brigham pipes and Rattray pipes.
Yeah.
And patina.
Yeah, and Sutliff has
I
been
said
like
patina?
yeah, you said patina, you did.
Okay.
Sutliff is interesting. We're a customer of Sutliff's. They were first. They really started more as like the pipe tobacco sector, right?
Yeah.
Because we carry a lot of blends from them, like the B20 Black Cavendish. That's a popular seller here. I think the Blackberry Brandy blend.
They've got 500, so.
What?
Yeah. So, excuse me, if as you rattle them off, I don't go,
yeah, no, no.
yeah, I know that one.
I didn't even know it was 500 blends.
And-
Holy
Yeah.
cow.
The price list is just insane.
Yeah, Marcia runs the back of the house, and she's like the
She's
pipe
the
tobacco
she's the
expert
specialist on that.
because
I just refer everyone to Marsha
Okay.
because she's got the book.
Wow.
Yeah.
And she's got the page of the top sellers. So if somebody's opening up a shop and they're getting into pipes and pipe tobacco, we can give them the top 50 sellers, best sellers,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah, she handles all the orders, so she
that's a
knows
lot of-
all that information.
It's a lot of data.
I don't know if you're familiar. We just ordered the Christmas Spice blend.
Yeah, those. Yeah, no, I know what those.
Yeah, I
are.
know a lot of these pipe tobacco blenders and manufacturers will offer Christmas time releases, and we're always intrigued by that. Just a little special, annual thing to look forward to in that world. And I'm assuming that your bread and butter is cigars, right?
Yes,
Or our cigars, yeah.
For sure.
actually, but our accessory lines actually do really well.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's amazing.
Okay.
It's amazing. I've had the Lotus line for I want to say 7
Lotus kind of
years.
puts you on the map, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we don't carry Lotus maybe just yet, but
Not
we're
yet.
always kind of
Great
looking.
product.
Yeah. But you had gifted me one model. I still have it. I should have brought it in today, and it has the V cutter also
the-
built in with it with the. I think it's a double or triple torch.
Triple
The
Duke
Duke.
V.
Yeah, the
V.
Duke. Yeah.
Okay, that's what it's called.
That's one of our more popular ones
Yeah,
for sure.
when I was starting out, I wanted an accessory line because I only had a few lines, cigar lines to sell.
Right.
So if you go into a shop and you're talking to the retailer, he goes, "Nah, I don't want that line." Well, then you're out of the shop. Well, I'll see you later. But everyone has to get started on fire. So
That's
I
right.
wanted a lighter line so I could be in every shop, so he saw me a lot.
Interesting.
Selling them lighters. And once I was very fortunate and blessed enough to get Lotus, great company, great people, and I've had them for a long time, which actually kept me in the shop. So when I did get a new cigar line brought on, I go, "Hey, thanks for the lighter order. Here's a new cigar I've got." And they go, "Oh, okay. Well, now they trust me because I've been selling them lighters, so it worked out great."
Yeah, that's an interesting strategy of how you established yourself. Because I'm sure that's if someone wants to be a broker, right? Like how does one enter the market in like an established old world relationship based industry? It's hard to get, say, a foundation, right? You already locked them up in your territory. So that's interesting that you went about it by starting with like an accessories company,
Yeah, and that's back
which is
when-
what every shop needs, right? Just
right.
besides cigars.
No matter if this cigar doesn't taste right or that cigar costs too much,
Mm-hmm.
they all have to start them on fire.
Yeah. Now, when did you start brokering?
2014
Yeah.
May.
So by cigar standards, that's still very young.
Oh, still got the barcodes on.
Yeah. But I mean, it's impressive to see like the portfolio you've developed with like Illusione and Foundation.
Yeah, we're very,
As well.
Very blessed to get all those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy for me because like he started in 2014 and that was like kind of at the end of for high school for me.
Okay.
And so I went to college and like when you go to college it's completely different. And so when I came out of college, he was like the man when it came to the cigar industry.
I don't know about that.
Oh, come on, now. Come on, come
We
on.
can back that out.
No, it's and then when I actually got to the show, everyone's like, "Oh my God, your fish's son," and I'm like. Yeah, he's my dad. I've known him my whole life. What do you mean? So it's
To you, it's just
it's just that's what I'm saying. It's just so crazy to see how he's grown like through this business. It's just crazy to me. It's just I'm glad he brought me on and trusted me enough to have the discipline to do it. It does take a lot of discipline to be a cigar broker. I'm telling you what. No one's telling you to go out and do all these things. Like you gotta have your own initiative to go. It's easy until it's not. You know what I mean? Everyone thinks it's all rainbows and daisies. Driving every single day, living on the road a lot, but I mean, it is very rewarding for sure.
Well, and that's the misconception about being a cigar rep in general, broker or an in-house rep.
Yeah.
Is that you're sitting around cigar shops smoking cigars.
Yep.
That's about 5% of it.
Well, that's the perception that end consumers have of retail owners, right?
Yeah, if I
That
imagine.
we're just sitting down, smoking in the back,
Yeah.
just watching the register ring up
these
magically.
droves
right?
of people walking in, standing in line.
They don't see like me cleaning up the ashtrays, which I'll do, or clean the toilets.
Right.
Like I just tell people, like even when we hire new staffers, I tell them, look, whatever misconceptions or preconceptions you had about a cigar salesman, throw them out the window because we're basically just glorified janitors.
Right. Yeah. Well,
So I try to make it to where they don't want a job.
Right.
That way, if they say yes, they're still interested. Like, okay, well, they might be serious.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it's being a broker is.
It's the same
It's windshield
situation.
time.
Yeah,
That's all
people
there is
think
to
it's
it.
all glamorous.
100%. And a lot of it, what people don't talk about too, is so I went to school at A&M Corpus Christi, and I was on the education side of kinesiology. So what my degree was dealing with every type of personality, and my emphasis was in communication. So I had to do presentational, nonverbal, all these other things. So I can read people very well. And when you're
You
dealing
still
in
can't read me though.
when you're dealing with
You
these
got to put good poker face, huh?
when you're dealing with these retail owners, they see people day in, day out. They've been doing it for years, so they can read people so
yeah.
easily.
Yeah, they size you up.
Exactly. And so all you have to do is just be an authentic human, and
Right.
that's about it, and that's just what it is. If you can just be a trustworthy, authentic human, it comes easy, so.
Yeah. We have kind of a reputation, I'm sure, with my father, who he has this stone cold face. Like he can be intimidating for some sales reps.
He intimidated me the first
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
I met
yeah,
him,
yeah.
But he's a nice guy.
But I
Terrific
think it's
guy.
by design. Like he wants to see how, because we've seen so many people not last long, right, from the sales side. And so it's like, why? For me, I'm the opposite, right? I think that's why, and we kind of joke. That's why everyone calls me, because I'm a little more just
Good
jovial
cop.
and
You're the good cop.
yeah,
He's the bad
yeah. But without him, we wouldn't have survived. So I probably would have spent us into bankruptcy if he didn't have the check. So it works. But once you break him, like he'll open up and even be a prankster and be jovial. But that's just insight from our side, and I'm sure you deal with that kind of personality from cigar shop
Yeah,
owners.
and
Some that are just like tough.
The cigar world is a
You
very
hear more no's.
it's a very emotional business. Like any good cigar store can sell any cigar in their shop. They're really just going to push the people that they like. You know what I mean? So if they like
You're right.
you,
Yep.
if they like you, they're gonna push your stuff no matter what. So
To be candid,
to an extent, of course.
I don't know how you retailers do it, because when we do our job, we have a finite number of personalities we're going to deal with. We're going
Right.
to deal with you.
Yep.
We know who you are.
Yeah, I don't know how
what
many
you like.
shops you have. Let's just say 500. I don't know, maybe not.
we have 300
But you do
customers
have
that-
finite.
Right.
Yeah.
Every time we meet go into that shop,
Yeah.
there's that guy. You open the door and go, come in.
Yeah.
And so you're getting from soup to
you,
nuts. I don't know how
I
you
mean,
do it.
I've seen every type walk of life come into the cigar store, from the doctors to the lawyers to the guy with no shoes on. It's crazy. You know what I mean? It's-
Sometimes they're the same.
yeah.
So our point, like to underscore that point, you guys have it easier in that regard, in that you have a finite amount of customers.
Right.
And I guess the workload isn't like our entity. So between our two stores, we have 14,122 registered customers.
Wow.
That's just registered.
Wow.
And you could probably, I guess, for every one registered customer, we probably have maybe 2 or 3 that don't register. That's like regulars. So, I mean, that's just to give you
lot.
insight into like just the sheer volume of people we got to deal with.
Yeah. See, that's hats off to you guys.
Yeah.
And that's something I understood right off the jump, because like I said, this is your livelihood. I'm going to take it very seriously. And you can tell from a mile away, I'm pretty sure, if someone's pulling your leg or not. You know what I mean? So
Thank you for saying leg.
the third one.
So, like, to continue this topic, what challenges have you seen that retailers have to deal with working like a cigar retail setting?
It's a lot of it is
Like you mentioned, like managing personalities, right? The customer
Yeah.
and consumers.
yeah. It's I think it's the changing market, the changing prices. I mean, when oil prices went up, cigar prices went up. I mean, autumn I think I would, now that I think about it, the number one challenge, and you can help me with this one if it's this correct,
yeah.
is that customers don't understand that cigars are an organic product, and when you're out of them, it's not that the factory stopped making them. It's like the crop was bad. It wasn't a bumper crop. It was a bad crop. So we're not going to get them until another 6 months. It's not like making trailer hitches.
Yeah.
So I think that's
Yeah, something that you can flip a switch and it's automated.
It's like,
Maybe
why are
easier
you
to
out of,
source.
why are you out of so-and-so? Well, we just don't have them in yet.
Yeah.
They're still in process. They think that you're just not ordering them or being
Right.
silly with your inventory or
Yeah.
something. I see that a lot.
I know during the lockdowns, one of the major choke points, I mean, there were several choke points in the supply chain. Probably the most I heard, though, was the sourcing of paper goods, i.e. cigar bands,
Oh, yeah.
box labels, Vistas,
the
filetes.
stuff you don't think about.
Right.
Yeah.
It wasn't really the cigars that were out of stock. And I can't speak for every manufacturer, right? Because I'm sure some manufacturers, they couldn't forecast. They didn't know. Like our last guest from Perdomo, he kind of gave us insight. Like no one really knew in the industry what to expect during the lockdowns. Like a lot of people kind of clammed up and, battened down the hatches thinking like, oh, well, no one's going to be smoking. So,
And I feel like the cigar world exploded.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because everyone's just sitting at home, you
Yep.
know? So it really put the cigar world on the map.
yeah, I mean, I love, I think it's CAA, Cigar Association of America, that puts out an annual or at least quarterly numbers of imports. And yeah, during 2020, 21, like it exploded.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And to your point, we had a butane shortage during the lockdown.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah,
And
yeah.
it wasn't the
Aluminum.
butane that was a
Aluminum.
shortage.
The
cans?
It was the cans.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's crazy.
That happened. I was talking to someone in the alcohol industry. They said the bottles were the issue. Wasn't the actual
Oh.
liquid. He was sourcing bottles.
Yeah, that happened. That happened. I used to work at a bar and we couldn't get Patron because we couldn't get the glass Patron bottles. It was crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Yeah, the unintended consequences are like things you don't think about
Right.
that
Exactly.
cause the supply chain disruptions.
I forgot about that.
But have you seen things kind of normalize, kind of calm
yeah.
down now that people have kind of caught up?
Yeah.
Yeah, people
absolutely.
are shocked that it's back to normal, you know?
Yeah, it's almost like I got to pinch myself. Is this like real? Like, oh, I can request a certain box and it's in stock.
It's coming.
yeah.
It's coming in a week.
Yeah. But yeah, no, like sourcing is definitely a challenge that retailers have to contend with, that you guys also have to manage. Personalities, pricing's interesting. I know that like you've seen, right? The inflation rate was a lot higher during this past year and maybe 2 years ago than it's higher than average. From what I've seen, you can expect about 1% to 2% increases every year. But I saw this past few years companies going up as high as 5%,
It was
10%.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge. That's a sticker shock for end consumers to see that.
Yeah, I'm usually the messenger, but I usually end up getting shot.
Yeah. Do you really get a lot of retailers get upset about increases? Because I'm going to give you my insight.
I mean,
And
I
my theory on
get
that.
customers at events will complain to me about.
Okay, end consumers do.
They're
Yeah,
like,
sure.
well, they're like, it's a third world country. They're paying them $20. Why are the prices going up? So, well, it has to get here.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah.
you have to put in gas in a boat and off it goes.
From what I understand, too, shipping containers, the price of shipping containers
There you go.
yeah,
went from like $3,000 a container
yeah.
up to like $9,000 to $12,000 in some cases.
It went up to 20 actually.
Oh, really? 20?
And they went into a bidding war. So they would actually, you'd have to bid on the container. Let's say your bid was 20 grand, and you thought, okay, great, my stuff's going out, and somebody bid 21. Well, they gave it to them. They didn't tell
Sure.
you off
Oh
it went.
my gosh.
Yeah,
And-
it was insane. The stories we would hear from our manufacturers is just
Right.
crazy.
Wow.
And another problem now is the border being open. What country was down 10% population?
Nicaragua's
Yeah.
population.
I've been hearing that from other manufacturers.
Crazy.
Yeah.
10% country population decrease.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've been hearing the stories too from other manufacturers in that regard. And so a lot of end consumers don't realize the labor force has been leaving, Latin America for the U.S. And as a result, the rolling capacity has decreased.
Yep.
So that's going to be, I guess a challenge that the industry will have to navigate. But going back to the shipping containers, so other companies were outbidding the other to get those containers.
Yep.
And that was probably from other industries, right? Too, not just
Yeah. I mean,
Cigar
both-
people-
Amazon got to get their stuff too, you know?
From,
Yeah,
from what our perspective was, the cigar manufacturers and the accessories manufacturers were coming out of China. That was coming out of China was brutal. I mean, the cost of I had at one point they were actually the popular stuff was being air freighted to make sure we got it because you couldn't count on getting a container,
Yeah.
which the company was eating it basically.
Yeah, I've heard from other manufacturers they discontinued certain products that they source or some of the goods that they source from China where they had to discontinue those products because they just couldn't. They were having challenges with Asia.
Yep.
Yeah.
Going back to pricing and inflation with our industry, and this is public. You know, Steve Saka had posted something. I don't know if it was last year or sometime earlier this year, like the dirty secret with, you know, price increases. Of course, end consumers hate that, right? Whether you're shopping at the grocery, you got to pay 10% more on whatever good or gasoline, cigars. But even though a lot of retailers complain, I think the retailers who complain about price increases are those that don't want to have to go through the hassle of actually changing everything in their system or their
Yeah.
cards. But the more astute retailer should kind of secretly, like, I mean, I'll admit, like, we're kind of like glad to see those price increases because we only ever go up if the manufacturer goes up because we have a certain margin that we need to survive on.
Right.
So, you know, like we give raises to our employees. We see our rents go up. We see all these other costs. Like we kind of need to see the supply side of products to go up so we can maintain those margins.
Yeah, and with the end consumer seeing everything going up,
Right.
seeing the cigars go up is not as bad as if just cigars went up,
Yeah.
for instance. Yeah.
But to give you some background on my situation, I went to school intending to go to the financial world. So I majored in finance, and Wall Street was kind of in the tracks for me. But ultimately, I gave that up because I love the cigar industry so much. And like one takeaway from my studies is that the wealthy people who maintain their wealth usually maintain that via holding assets,
100%.
right? Tangible, typically, right? Whether it's
100%.
land,
Yeah.
precious metals. You don't want to really hold cash because cash can deteriorate.
Oh, yeah.
Right, with inflation. You know, a dollar today won't necessarily buy that dollar tomorrow won't buy necessarily the same amount of goods. Right. And you've probably seen it, right? Going to
100%.
cigar shops, the truly wealthy people usually deal with land.
Yeah.
Whether they maintain it and acquire more.
Yeah.
That's a real secret of success for achieving wealth. So it is kind of like one of those dirty secrets. Like retailers might complain about, oh man, these prices are rising. The consumer is really who suffers mostly, right? Especially if their salaries don't keep up with it. But you know, like mom and pop retailers kind of need that too.
100%.
But there's also the challenge of like you don't want to price yourself out of the market.
Yeah. I mean, whatever's happening right now in the whole world is like, it's not sustainable. Something's got to give. Some dominoes are going to be falling in this coming year or so. Like, so I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not one of those conspiracy theory guys, but whatever this is not sustainable. You know what I mean? So,
Well, knowing like I said, the insight knowledge I have with like the money supply and the banking system, and I've kind of alluded to like holding cash can be detrimental for one, maintaining wealth, right?
Yeah,
you want to take that cash and convert it into maybe stocks or land or some other asset that can give you a return on investment.
100%. I mean, it's just so crazy right now. Like with real estate, everything blowing up. Me living in Austin.
Oh yeah, you've seen it too, huh?
Oh my God, dude! Like my rent went up $300 for the same doors and windows. Like, what am I paying for? You know, and it's just like. Right now, if you're a single, like I'm like a guy like me, a single man, you got to be making 115 grand just to qualify for a regular 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. It's crazy, you know. So that's not the American dream, you know. So whatever this is, it's gonna have to fix.
Well, I also think, you know, besides a person, if they're wishing to create wealth, another secret, I guess, or one potential route is to be an entrepreneur. To create your own product or open up your own business. You guys are doing it, right? Because you're really not working for a company.
Correct.
There's no like cap on what your salaries could be.
Correct.
Yeah.
So in essence, you are an entrepreneur.
Yeah, we're an LLC.
Yeah. Whereas, let's say, and I'm not disparaging in-house reps, but they have a salary, right? Usually, I don't know what every company's different. I'm sure with their compensation, but usually there's a base. Then they have bonuses if they meet certain targets. But to me, there's still always going to be a cap.
Well, they
in
get
that
their
scenario,
hotels
right?
paid for and their travel paid for. And
Yeah, there are trade-offs, right? There are benefits in that route. Yeah, you have to pay for your
the
expenses,
minute
right?
we turn the ignition key, the meter starts running.
Well, yeah, for us, it's eat what you kill. You know what I mean? So if we're not, that's another thing. It's our own discipline. If we're not going outside and going to these shops and whatnot, we're not seeing these people. They're going to lose our trust, and that's it. You know, so it's just about staying consistent, staying diligent, and just
But yeah,
doing the right
calling
things
your
when
own
no one was
shots,
watching.
definitely not having a cap on your income.
So that's the benefit, right? That's the max or a potential that you don't really have a cap. You're really rewarded based on your sales and your performance.
Correct.
But the negative is that you do have to pay for everything.
Yeah.
Rent, your car expenses, gas, travel, lodging, food.
Yeah,
Whereas
it
other
took me
sales
years
reps
before
will-
I was making money.
Yeah.
I was
That's what I'm saying. When I went off to college, like he was just, oh, I'm a cigar guy, and I'm like, okay, sure.
good luck.
As I'm like, what are your like? I'm going through college. What do your parents do? Oh, my dad's a cigar broker. They're like, huh?
Yeah.
Like, never heard of that. And there's not many of us, you know,
Right.
because I mean,
We are a small industry, right?
exactly,
We're so
this
niche.
big
that- yeah.
around. You know what I mean? So it's just it's eat or be eaten in this industry for sure. So it's just about having a good personality and being able to tell jokes and hold a conversation, just hang out.
Yeah.
It's not really like, we're not going to just be like, oh, buy this cigar. You know, it's an emotional business. You got to be able to be likable. So
That's what I also am interested with, like certain brands, certain legacy brands, say like the Fuentes or Padrones, that they got to be in every shop, right?
yeah,
They can almost, I wouldn't say they're resting on their laurels, but they don't really have to push their product.
yeah,
There's already demand for it.
Sure.
But I really feel for like the new guy, especially they all start out as boutique,
Yep.
out of necessity, right? Where they're finite capital. Trying to get shelf space is a challenge for them. So I really do feel for these guys that we constantly get pitched for begging for shelf space. I'm not telling anyone what to do, but what intrigues us is if a company's willing to maybe sell us product on consignment, or they pay us a slot fee like you see in the supermarket industry, right? Where they pay for like square footage of what space they can get. It's just
actually-
ideas. I mean,
that's a
you
good
gotta be
idea.
creative.
I've never even thought of that.
And that's just borrowing a play from the supermarket industry, right? All those shelves you see lined with like Coca-Cola, they got to pay for those slots, and they
I
do
didn't know
that
that.
to keep the competitor out.
Really?
And they have the funds to.
Huh.
Whereas you don't really, it's hard to see that in the cigar world, right? Because you alluded to that it's emotional.
Yeah.
If I'm a fanboy Foundation and Nick, man, I don't care. I don't need to
100%.
request that. I'm just gonna, because I love this cigar, right?
100%.
As a retailer.
That's why when I first started out, it was so hard for me because like I did mobile homes for 2 years and that was all I knew coming out of college. And like when mobile homes, you got to know every single thing about the mobile home because this is this is the biggest purchase of their life. They're not just, it's not buying a sandwich. You're buying a house. So like I knew how it was built, what factory it's coming out of, what it's made of, all the pipes, the toilets, everything. And then when I come here, it's
Totally different.
cut, light. Hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
It's like good.
How about those Cowboys?
Yeah, for real.
Yep. Going back to that, there's so many. I always find it funny when I hear our end consumers, especially arguing with themselves. They're pro Cowboys or pro Saints, and hearing the hate. There are a lot of Cowboys fans in Louisiana.
Oh, really?
Especially in Shreveport, like in Northwest. But we like South Louisiana. Always kind of jokingly considered North Louisiana as like Texas or some other
Right? Yeah.
Yankees.
yeah,
we call them
I
Yankees.
can-
you
I
know?
can see that.
That's
I
true.
see that.
That's a lot of because I lived in Corpus Christi for 7 years, and everyone called me a Yankee being from Dallas. So
Oh wow, same thing.
We're the,
huh?
we're the preppy boy. We're the preppy boys from the Texas side, but I don't care. True and true. D-town till I die.
Yeah, nice man. Yeah, there's H-Town and now D-Town.
Oh yeah,
I've
big
never heard that.
rivalry. Big rivalry for
Okay.
sure.
Yeah, those are probably the two biggest markets, right? In
For
Texas,
sure.
Dallas, and Houston.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's
I mean,
rivalry.
don't
Not
get
to
me
mention
wrong.
the baseball.
Don't
that
get me
just
wrong.
happened.
San Antonio is definitely pumping oil for
Yeah.
sure. So
Yeah, the big three, and then Austin's obviously getting big. And what I find fascinating is Austin is really becoming this cigar center, right? You mentioned, you alluded to
get
gyms
ready-
at Habana House.
get ready for Austin in 10 years. It is going to be insane
Yeah.
because I see all the construction right now. There's a shortage on cranes just because of the construction in Austin. So are you familiar with Austin at all? Do you know?
No, I've never been. I've always wanted to go to
Oh
Austin.
my goodness.
Yeah.
So there's like multiple bar districts. There's like 6th Street and like the Domain, which is like, have you ever been to Dallas at all?
I spent a little time there, but not much.
So like there's like it's like high end, like luxury bars, restaurants, things like that.
Okay.
And then there's Rainy Street. So Rainy Street used to be like all these old historic homes and things like that. And the city said, "Here's $5 million for your house. Get out. We're gonna put a skyscraper here."
Oh man.
So they're totally under
disrupted.
construction. They're building the tallest building in Texas right now. It's like a convention center. It's everything, and that's still under construction. There's cranes everywhere around Rainy Street.
Yeah.
It is crazy. So Austin in 10 years is going to be insanely huge. It's already huge, but in 10 years it's going to be insane. 130, that highway that loops around Austin, was when it was first built. I remember, I think it was 2012 it was first built. Now it's almost all developed. Like, it's crazy how much is going up in there. And everyone's moving to Austin. You got the Boring Company. You got Samsung. Tesla is there. Like, that's where they're building.
What's the Boring Company?
Boring Company is
Sounds like it's not very exciting.
It's an Elon Musk company.
it's Elon Musk company. They're the one digging the hole.
It wasn't very exciting.
They're digging holes underneath the ground. I believe in
No, it's exciting.
Las Vegas. Las Vegas, they have a tunnel that goes from the convention center to for somewhere. I don't know all of it, but I've driven past it, and Elon bought both sides of the highway, and there's a tunnel they're drilling underneath the highway. And believe it or not, some insider information. So I used to work at a bar at a resort in Corpus Christi all through college, and the what's it called? The permit guy for Travis County personally met with Elon to make these plans to build a tunnel that's going to go underneath Lake Travis, which is like the main lake in Austin, all the way out to El Paso. And he's like, you're going to need this, and he just started writing checks. This was about 2-3 years ago. So there's something happening with that.
So he's like acquiring land, huh?
He's acquiring land, and he's trying to build an underground tunnel to make traveling way easier, because with all this growth.
Austin to El Paso?
Austin, El
How
Paso.
far is that? By car drive?
10 hours.
Yeah, that's a hell of a tunnel.
Oh, that's why I'm saying get ready in 10 years.
It's a lot of shovels.
And again, I also am intrigued by what's going on in Texas, because Louisiana, unfortunately, we miss out on a lot of our population. And I get it, for better opportunity for Texas, you know?
It's just crazy. It's kind of a blessing to be in the Austin area. Honestly, you just get to see it all happen in front of you, you know? So.
And then not to mention, like, with Joe Rogan, right? And Joe Rogan, cigars, Austin, it all intersects, right?
Yeah.
The fact that he's smoking cigars is awesome.
Foundation made a cigar for Joe Rogan.
Let alone he's smoking Nick stuff. But.
So, yeah, exactly. And, I was talking to Nick over the summer about, like, how that went down, and just, I mean, it's got to be a blessing for his company, and really also for the cigar industry.
100%.
That's what I'm saying.
100%.
Not just Foundation, but
he popped open a cigar and
seeing the #1 podcaster. Although I saw a headline yesterday that he just dropped to #2. It was like the most popular podcaster on Spotify. But regardless, he's still
#2.
He's still influential.
Right. Cool.
But to see him have to grow an appreciation for cigars.
Not only just cigars, he also has that comedy club down in Austin as well.
Have you been?
Oh yeah, I saw Ron White over there. It was awesome.
Another cigar smoker.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yep. Yeah, and he just put Austin on the map for sure.
Yeah. And I've been listening to his podcast now, I guess, for the last 2-3 years on and off, and just to hear these stories of like Austin blowing up when he left California during the lockdowns for greener pastures in Texas. It's really interesting to see that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And then how cigars are related, I guess, as part of that.
Oh, and Apple, Apple's moving to has already moved to Austin as well.
But yeah,
I
they're
didn't
not
know
going to
that.
smoke cigars.
Nah, but it's just more growth. You know, it's just crazy.
You know, I always lament. Speaking of like the technology sector, and think of like social media companies, they've always been anti-tobacco.
TikTok has an office in Austin as well.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, it's in the Chase building.
The anti-tobacco
sentiment with especially the tech sector.
Yeah, it's in Austin. If it's going to get anything crazy is going to happen in Austin, Texas. The rest of Texas is Texas, but Austin. I have
They're the guinea pig.
I have a T-shirt that says "Don't California my Texas."
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen like that saying. Yeah, that sentiment.
But you're right. It's I always say that I'm going to start an anti-eggplant lobby because I don't like eggplant, so you should need eggplant.
Hey, wait a minute.
You know what I'm saying?
I love eggplant.
Well, that's what. But no, you can't because I don't like it.
Right. Yeah, that whole like sentiment of like anti-choice or really for someone else's decisions, right?
Right.
As long I think we reasonable people, as long as you don't adversely affect someone else,
Sure. Right.
like why should anyone care what the other person
Yeah.
does?
If you're in a-
100%.
in a
Less
closed-
government.
If you're in an enclosed shop,
Yeah.
smoking cigars, you're not bothering anybody.
Yeah.
Why can't you?
Right.
You know what's crazy? In California, I heard that it's illegal to smoke a cigar on the beach, but you can smoke weed.
Oh, yeah.
That's what gets me. Like I hate that.
That is crazy.
That should be
to me.
all or nothing.
That is
Right.
crazy.
You know?
What's the difference?
This is
Yeah.
biodegradable.
I mean, I know the difference, but what's
you
the
know?
difference?
Right. Well, you can't get drunk or high on the. I mean, I guess if you do it incorrectly, but
Well, I suppose
I've never heard
this
of
is-
anyone getting ticketed for driving under the influence of cigars.
Well, it might be the medicinal thing. I mean,
Yeah.
these poor people have to have glaucoma. They got to be token up.
Yeah.
You know.
But I bring up like the tech sector and their view on cigars, and I don't know if they differentiate. I'm sure like most of them are really after cigarettes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we get thrown into the mix, unfortunately.
But then we talk about choice. So I'm sure that's something that we can debate. Well, I mean, these tech companies are private. So in one side, I get that if they want to be anti-tobacco, that's fine. It's their business, it's their right.
Yeah.
But I used to think like that until like these social media companies in the tech sector have almost become like utilities where now they're so important and integral to our economy, to our society. Maybe people should look at them in a different light.
Yep.
Not just as private sector, but now as utilities where they need some regulation like that.
100%. Shout out Twitter.
Yeah. Well, that's what. So when Elon bought Twitter and now it's X, we tweeted out something to him. We weren't expecting any response, but kind of bringing up this point, like we hope now that if you're about free speech, hopefully you would allow the cigar sector to advertise.
100%.
Because we've always wanted to advertise on the Facebooks and Instagrams, the X's, but we always get the rejection
Yeah.
automated email from these companies saying, well, you deal in tobacco and it's against our policy.
Yeah.
Which, all right, I guess, you are
Kind of messed up.
a company, though, but you have the right to reject us.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Like TikTok.
my fear is, well, what if you don't like, you said eggplants, or you don't like a certain religion? You see where I'm getting
It's a
at?
fine line. It's a
Yeah,
fine
yeah,
line. It's either all or nothing, and I don't, and like in TikTok, you can't smoke on video.
But I've seen it.
But I mean,
I've seen it, though.
I understand like back in the day, or I guess now still, alcohol commercials. You're not allowed to drink on a commercial, but like, where does that fall into place
Right.
too? So it's all or nothing.
And what's weird is I think like the Facebooks of the world typically have an anti-alcohol policy with advertising, but I've seen the
Yeah.
ads from big
Yeah.
corporations, like alcohol corporations.
Yeah,
So I kind of wonder about like, well, you say one thing, but you're allowing it
100%.
on the other.
Maybe it depends on how much the
The payoff
The
is
check was.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The dominoes are gonna fall.
So let's talk about other companies that you guys rep. What insights or news can you offer? Say like from Illusione.
Lucioni just redid their packaging.
Okay, how's that going?
Our sales went right up.
Okay.
Right after the show, they've got all the MJ12s, which is the Majestic 12s, conspiracy theory.
Oh yeah, I'm big into that too. I love.
And
Dion's
unfortunately, they took
view.
all that stuff away
Wait,
because the consumer was us guys in the industry knew all that stuff.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
People at home, we got it right here.
So they took away now it's the original documents Maduro instead of the MJ12 Maduro.
Or are they calling it Toro?
No, it's I'm sorry. No, it's a Gordo.
Oh, okay, it's a Gordo. Okay.
So all the Gordos.
So let me see. That's the new packaging.
Yeah,
all the
you-
Gordos are
you
in
can open it
colored
up.
foil, and the reason for that is
Oh, interesting.
heretofore the consumer would look at the spread of Illusione, and the boxes were all very similar with kind of hard to read fonts.
Yeah.
You can open it up.
And
Okay.
the MJ12s, the Maduro and the Corojo, which is
It used to
silver
be
wrapped,
black for the Maduro and silver for the natural.
right? And they sell like crazy.
Right.
The one
That-
you can't see.
I
but
know.
You see it on the
best.
shelf.
I know.
So I would be in an event with selling Illusione, pushing Illusione, and I'd have an 8-foot table full of Illusione, and I would get a customer come up and go, "Tell me about your brand. I've never heard of this before." I'd give them the whole spiel, and so I said, "Which one do you want to take?" And they would take the MJ12, the one they can't see after after 5 minutes
Yeah.
of talking about it and seeing all that product. So this was the hook.
And
Interesting.
there's only a couple of retailers that do it, but they'll get all of the ones with all the Gordos with the foil band on them, and it looks really good in the shop because they have the blue Habano, they have the purple Ultra, the black and silver MJ12s, and then they have the Cruzado that's gold. And when you line them all up, it just catches your eye.
Yeah.
Catches your eye
Gets some
immediately. Like, what is that? And then they all want to try it.
Yeah, and the good thing is, too, they're good cigars.
100%.
Oh, of course.
Once you go through
Dion
all
definitely
that
knows
stuff.
what he's doing.
And then to give some explanation to listeners, with Illusione, Dion Giolito is the owner, founder.
Correct.
Where does he have his cigars made?
Nicaragua.
In Nicaragua. It's Aganorsa?
Believe so,
correct?
yeah.
Yeah.
He's got a palate like
I know.
nobody's business.
He's legendary in that regard.
Yeah.
You know, he used to have a podcast. I don't know if he still does.
Not sure either.
Yeah. I was reading a stat on that. Nick probably has more insight, our producer. The average podcast doesn't make it past, it's like, I forget what exact majority, but like most of them fail after or end up or close after like 20 episodes.
Really?
So the fact we're on like I guess this is number 28 or something like that. So far, all right, knock on wood, we're still in it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But no, I love the new packaging that Illusione has implemented.
You can see that even with the foil off, the band is much more pronounced.
Yeah, and all
Easy
the
to read.
other sizes are going to be just like that. So
Okay, with the same style packaging.
Band.
Yeah, band.
Yeah,
that's
the
cool.
The
The
vistas
Candela-
on the
the
vistas on the
Candela-
box look very similar to that.
the Candela looks like that. Everyone looks like that now.
So if I place an order today, I should get the new packaging from every SKU. They've flushed out.
100%.
Okay.
Not every SKU has new packaging
Okay.
yet. But
Okay.
for the most
Not.
part, all the original documents. It's like the Epernay box is still going to look like the Epernay box.
Oh, okay.
But
It's just the original documents.
yeah.
That's what I meant.
exactly.
Original documents. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's cool. I love this packaging. So I'm sure that'll improve.
It already has. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, I got a story. He just started in the industry, and I'm
This
driving
is a good one.
I'm driving in my car, and I pick it up and I go, "What's going on?" He said, "Well, hey, I'm smoking this H1 that you gave me. It's really good." And I go, "Well, it's the fonts are kind of weird." So I said,
H1.
"Well, it's an HL.
Yeah.
Stands for Holy Lance." He goes, "Holy Lance?" So yeah, it's homage to the sword that killed Christ. There's this pause, and he goes, "I'm not getting any of those flavors."
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know what the references were like, and he's big into like the occult and history. Dion is with his branding. I know there's been some controversy over the years, but for me, I love conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And references to the occult, the deep state, and all that.
Oh yeah.
So like for me, I appreciate that kind of branding and marketing. Yeah.
Well, I don't know how
Yeah, I thought it
Dion.
was
I didn't
cool.
know the Holy Lance. I thought that was maybe reference to like something with like King Arthur. But that
No,
could
I
be
was told
wrong.
it was the sword that killed
Yeah.
Christ.
Oh. Yeah, I can see that.
I don't know how Dion does it. He can tell everything about a cigar. I'm a red light or a green light. It's either good or it's dirt. So
Yeah, compared to Dion, I don't know which end of light.
Well,
so.
and he's positioned himself as being like this authority on flavor profiles, knowing the characteristics of each tobacco leaf. So it's pretty cool to see basically a cigar nerd, and that's a prop, a prop to not a demeaning.
Yeah,
term,
no,
'cause
yeah,
I'm a proud
an
cigar nerd
elite,
myself.
an elite. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the cigars show it. I mean, the cigar, there's not a dog in the bunch. I mean, everything's great.
Yeah. You mentioned Cavalier. We were talking about Cavalier before we came into the studio.
Yeah.
That's a company we're looking at doing some business with. Can you give me some background on Cavalier, either of you?
Sure. Sebastian, a gentleman owns the line. He started out as a entrepreneur, or actually wasn't an entrepreneur, if I remember the story right. I apologize to Sebastian if I'm getting this wrong. But he said, I'm not going to work. I'm going to work for myself. That's it.
Okay.
So he opened up a tobacco shop in Europe. And ultimately, he came over here.
He's Swiss, right? Isn't
Correct.
he Swiss?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And he's a terrific guy.
Down to earth for sure.
Down to earth, he's very unassuming, he's very smart, but he's very calm, very
Yeah,
I was
very
on the
level-headed, huh?
Yeah, I was on the road with him, and I was
He knows like 6 languages.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, he's a
Okay.
polyglot.
He's crazy.
I never get a chance to say the word polyglot, so you got to throw it in there.
I was
Scrabble
afraid if
word.
I called him that, he'd punch me.
No. Polyglot, someone who can speak multiple languages.
Yeah, he definitely does that.
Yeah.
And so now they used to get distributed out of the Illusione warehouse, but now they go direct out of Honduras.
Okay, can you give insight into that? Because I thought Cavalier was being imported and distributed by Illusione, but now they changed.
Yeah, so they've got factories and a distribution center in Honduras,
Okay.
and they ship it direct from Honduras to the stores.
Wow.
So it'll get in the United States, go through customs, then it goes direct to the store.
So Habana Port out of Metairie wants to order from Cavalier. We place the order through you. You send it down to Honduras,
and
they ship it direct from Honduras to our doorstep
to you
without the importing. So just to give insight to people who don't know the industry, most manufacturers have their own importing office in the U.S., right? Whether it be in Texas or Florida. Usually it's in South Florida.
Right.
So like if I'm ordering from like Dion, his stuff is shipped from Nicaragua and it goes to Reno, right, where his importing office is.
Correct.
And from Reno it goes all over the country.
Correct.
But Cavalier does it differently.
Correct.
Whatever I order, there's no like importing office or warehouse.
No, the once it leaves
Honduras.
Honduras,
From
thank
Dali,
you.
Yeah.
Hate getting old.
Yeah.
Once it leaves Honduras, you're the next guy to see it.
Wow. Now, are there pros and cons? What are some of the?
It's a little wonky in that when it leaves Honduras, UPS gives it a track number. When it gets to the United States and goes through customs, after it leaves customs, it gets another track number.
Okay.
So when you call us, for instance, when you say, "What's my track number?" we have to wait till it leaves customs to get the real track number.
Oh, I see.
Because if you have that track, sometimes, and when it first happened, we get a little scared because it would say this package is not in our system. We were like, "Whoa, what?" We ordered it, and then we get a new track number.
Yeah, that's obviously a very unique situation. You don't see that in the industry. Like I said, most of the orders are coming from, say, South Florida or wherever else in the country it is. But it's coming direct from the factory. I just wonder logistics. Like, even if it's, do they have a minimum of like how many boxes I should order? Because obviously they want to try to ship as much as possible
I think
per
they
order.
pick up a couple times a week. I think they have a minimum to get it on the truck in Honduras. I think they come by the wherever they're shipping them out of the warehouse.
Yeah.
Twice a week or something like that.
Okay.
So obviously they're not coming on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yeah.
But
that's an interesting
but there's no
strategy.
minimum on your part, no.
Yeah, the good news is about it being all in house is like, let's say we're running low on white series. They just call downstairs, hey, we need to get more white series, and they start doing that right there.
Yeah, they're running low on a blend.
Oh, they know.
They tell the factory
instantly.
right away.
Yeah,
Interesting.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
the
they
warehouse,
do pretty good on that.
the warehouse
Interesting.
is a mile away from the factory.
Yeah, because I guess like with this kind of example, let's say company A, they're almost dealing with two entities, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say, I don't know, I'll just pick out Drew Estate. They have their office in Florida, and then their manufacturing facilities in Nicaragua. But I'm sure like all these companies now with technology, they can kind of sync and see in real time what the inventory is in the factory and what it is in the warehouse. But I guess just dealing direct with the factory, they kind of have a better sense or control of the inventory.
Well, also with a boutique, Drew Estate, for instance, I'm sure they got.
Yeah, the technology now.
Yeah, it's all working like a big, well-oiled machine. But you got a boutique that's a little smaller. That kind of communication is not as perfect as Drew Estate, let's say.
And I'm sure that's expensive to invest in something like that, like the software to manage that inventory.
for sure.
You got that much inventory, too.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about Cavalier too, and not a lot of people know it because they have that gold star on most of their lines.
Yeah. The gold foil, huh? The cigar.
100%.
Yeah, it's food grade gold. Food grade gold.
All hand placed by one person in the factory.
One person that just does
It's
that.
very difficult to believe it or not.
She's cranking them out. Boom,
I've got a
boom,
video
boom,
of it
boom.
when I was down at the factory. So they all had us, all the reps. They gave us a little box of gold. I called them squares. They say, "Hey, these are wrong. These are squares." And they're,
Yeah.
So
or diamonds, or
they were diamonds. So I put they actually put the foil. The gold foil touches the cigar.
Okay.
There's a release liner on the back, so you have a little bit of fruit gum on the cigar. So the gold goes on the cigar.
Okay.
And with your finger, with a little sticky of fruit gum, you touch the release liner until it comes up on your finger, and you peel off the release liner, and there's the gold.
Oh.
Now, when I did it, it looked like I did it at 10 feet. I mean, it was horrible. I mean, it's
Everyone
not,
is perfect.
And so
she's
when they're
doing
doing it, not only do they have to put it on perfect, it's got to be in the same spot every time. So when you put it in the box,
it looks
they
amazing.
all line up.
Yeah.
It's not as easy as it sounds.
That is a differentiator of Cavalier cigars. I totally forgot about that gold.
And you can smoke straight through
paper.
it,
Yep.
And if you don't ash it through that whole gold thing, it looks really cool.
Yeah. That gold, like you burn
ash.
the cigar through, or the ash, like through that
it
gold
shows straight
stays
through,
on
yeah.
there.
Yeah,
That's
my
cool.
wife's getting a real nice bracelet for Christmas.
Yeah,
It's
that's
funky looking, but it's gold, really.
Yeah. No, that's that's kind of a unique, some people might call it gimmicky, but that's definitely like a differentiator.
Yeah,
right, on
it
the
stands
shelves.
out in the humidor for sure.
It's like the foil on the cigar.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone has their own thing that they're doing.
Yep.
That's their thing, and I think it's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and I got a chance, you introduced me to Sebastian this past summer, like you've said,
Yeah.
just a true gentleman, very humble, and you could tell like he's definitely a cigar nerd too.
Yep.
So it's interesting that this Swiss national, like he made the move like to Honduras, now he's based out of there.
Yeah, and they're also they came out with some new stuff this past year with the Inner Circles and the Tres de la Cuentes to compete with that more entry level price point as well. And honestly, Cavalier is great on their price point because they are in house, and that's how they stay competitive too. No one's going to balk at the price, especially with everything going up. They really are staying competitive with all that.
Yeah.
So just to keep them above the game.
Yeah, they're definitely on our watch list, and I've smoked. I forgot what blend it was.
And they're good people at the end of the day too.
For sure.
For sure.
And look, in this industry, like years ago, I started. Now my 20th year in the industry, I worked at basically a large C-store distributor in New Orleans, and my boss, he always stressed to me that ultimately people buy from people.
100%. That's the name of the game in sales.
It's weird. It sounds so simple, but
100%.
And especially in our business, that relationships are so valued.
That's exactly what I was talking about.
Yeah, people buy from people.
100%. Then they can see, and the retail guys can see straight through you.
Yeah, sure.
Like if you say you're pulling their leg or anything like that, they'll be able to tell.
Thanks again for saying leg.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a real thing. It's a real
Mm-hmm.
thing for sure. So you just got to focus on being
authentic
and doing the right things,
Mm-hmm.
even though no one's looking.
Yeah.
Well, we always want to match we've got several blends or brands and blends. We want to match it with what the retailer says his clientele is like. If he's in a neighborhood that they don't have a lot of money, he's selling a lot of bundles and that kind of thing. Sure. We're going to sell him how about the Charter Oaks? How about the Tres de la Fuentes? And if he's got a lot of big shots coming in, well, then we're going to move him up to Freud.
Yeah.
How's that company doing? Can you explain the background of Freud?
A little bit. The blender is Eladio Diaz, former from Davidoff.
Mm-hmm.
The cigars are fantastic, pricey, but they're very good. There's a young company. They've been out.
I think they range from like 18 to 30, 40.
Yeah, it's not a cheap
no.
entry level or price point.
But great smokes. Great smokes.
And you mentioned Eladio Diaz. He's involved with Freud as the manufacturer.
As a blender.
Okay, as a blender.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he's legendary in that he, like you mentioned, he was the former blender for Davidoff,
right?
The international, well-known, ultra premium cigar company. And he came out, at least when he was with Davidoff, some legendary like private blends that he made and Davidoff released. There was one called the Number 9 that people haven't asking us
really
about
Wasn't
that.
familiar with that.
Mm-hmm. And so it's interesting that he moved on and now is blending for going out on his own essentially, and working with people like Freud. So
and his son Miguel, is it Miguel?
Yeah.
He's a fantastic guy. He's a crack up.
Oh, is he?
I love him to death. He's awesome.
He's great.
That's awesome. So yeah. I guess Freud is in it to try to gain some market share.
Has the Super Ego gun graded by the Cigar Aficionado yet?
I can't remember.
I think they're working
I'm
on
so used
that.
to trying to keep up with sports. I don't read Cigar Aficionado.
And I know I kind of hate to admit this, being in the industry too. Like I don't really keep up with Cigar Aficionado. We're just so consumed with other things.
Right. Yeah.
Not to disparage Cigar Aficionado.
Oh no, I know what you mean. It's like
there's just so much content out now.
Well, not only that, in being a broker, we get 100 emails a day, whether they're orders or price updates. New cigar shop in town. Somebody didn't get their stuff.
Not to mention I'm on the road, so I'm not exactly.
Yep.
Just stop and actually read something.
I know. I don't even read magazines like in general, just magazines anymore. Just consuming things via podcasts.
It's
like
just pretty much fantasy injury reports for me. It's fantasy football.
And I read at the 6th grade level, so it's kind of tough.
I can't even read, so there's that.
So let me ask you a different throw a curveball. When can either of you recount the first time you had your first cigar and what that was like? Let's start with you.
All right. So this is how I got into cigars.
Okay. Oh, I love the story.
There's a guy in where I was in the printing industry, and a guy kept coming in from lunch. He'd smoke a pipe at lunch. He'd come in and he'd smoke aromatics. which I didn't know what an aromatic was from an elbow back then. But he smoked aromatics. He'd come in smelling of his pipe.
Okay.
And finally, I said, "Man, that you smell so good. That stuff smells so good." He said, "I want to get into pipes." He goes, "Well, tomorrow at lunch, let's go to the cigar shop. Let's go to the tobacco shop." It's all right. So he takes me to the tobacco shop, and this guy starts telling me about getting a pipe, and it was just too much. I mean, I never smoked tobacco before in my life.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, they get a pipe and a lighter and a tamper and
The whole ritual.
this whole, I'm building a bomb here. What's going on? And he goes, and I go, "Man, it seems like a lot going on." He goes, "Well, if you're not into doing all this, maybe you should try cigars."
Oh.
So he sold me 3 cigars. I can't remember what they were.
Mm-hmm.
I took them home. I lit one up. I was like, "Dadgum, this is fantastic."
What?
And that's the way it was. I smoked cigars for, I don't know, 6 years before I got into the industry. I can't remember the timeline, but
Yeah. And what about your story?
So
Your first cigar.
so my first introduction to cigars in general was we went to Dad took me to a cigar warehouse in Plano.
Mm-hmm.
You remember that? And that was what 2000. I was not even high school. I think it was still middle school or something like that. And I just remember smelling. I'm like, oh God. But I think my first cigar was Southern Draw, actually. I can't remember what blend. It was their old bands.
probably a Firethorn.
Probably something like that. But I remember it was a Southern Draw on the back patio with him. And I think you just started repping them.
Well, could have been. I can't remember the timeline.
I mean, yeah. So, but I wasn't really into cigars at all, like that much. I started smoking them probably my senior year of college, and because like he was at that point the man of the cigar. Like he would come down and visit me for college. He'd have his briefcase full of cigars, and all my friends would be like, "Oh, cool cigar rep.
Right.
That's awesome. You got all these cigars," and
Yeah.
give them to all my friends, and they take like 3 puffs of them. It's one of those things. But I mean, I just was always around it. Every time I would come home and he would have this huge humidor of all these brands that he rep, I didn't really understand what he actually did because I wasn't around it. I was always in college. And then I really got immersed into it when he brought me on. And my first week on the job was TPE, so I got thrown to the wolves.
Oh, man.
And
Baptism by fire.
yeah, pretty much. And I'm just shaking all these hands. I didn't even know what a Gordo was. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So, but I knew how to deal with people. That was
Right.
my strength.
Yep.
And all I did was just be myself, and people caught on to that. And
he cleans up pretty good. So,
Yeah.
and it's just I just kind of ran with it at that point and haven't looked back ever since.
Yeah. So it's like interest via osmosis, just being around.
Well, not only that, I mean, this is the family business. My name's on
Right.
this thing, so I'm gonna take it with some pride, And I have a fear of failure, and especially letting this guy down, So I can't let that happen. Period. Like it's just not gonna happen. So
Well, the passion, I think, I'll make a prediction that you'll do well in the industry.
we're doing all right so far. I mean, no complaints around me yet. No one says I smell bad or anything like that. So that's good.
not that they're telling you.
Yeah, exactly. I know. But you bring up an interesting point, Brad, that you got into cigars, fell in love with this product, and then you made it a career. And that seems to be a common theme with a lot of people in the industry. Like they didn't maybe necessarily grow up in it, but decided to make a career out of it because they loved it so much.
Well, that's what I do love it, but the printing industry was being taken over by China and the internet.
Oh.
So nothing lights
Also
the past
necessity.
forward like a burning bridge.
Yeah.
So I was actually on my computer one night, and they were interviewing the daughter of the guy who owns La Serena Cigars, and they talked about how she went to events and all that kind
Was
of
that
stuff.
Ariel?
Yes,
Something?
exactly.
Yeah, yeah. Mhm.
God love them. They gave me my first opportunity.
Okay.
But I said, man, that'd be. She leaned into the camera at one point and said, "We're looking for a Texas rep."
Wow.
I was like, wow, I could do that because the printing industry was just going away.
Yeah.
So I sent him an email, and long story short, 6 weeks later, I had cigars on my front doorstep,
Come on.
and I went and quit my printing job, and I had one line.
So that was your first line, was
my
La
first
Serena.
line.
And I just it's so different for me because I have the name of him, and he's done such a good job of having that persona and everything else. Like I cannot imagine what these other guys have to go through to start building that and not just like, oh, you don't want my cigar, buy. You know, like
Right.
it's
the way it was.
it's what it is. It's tough. It is
Yeah.
very hard to get started doing this business, but it is very rewarding once you do.
I read a stat years ago that said the average sale, like for the average sale to close, the salesman has to visit or call on the buyer at least 7 times on average.
I've heard that.
And where I've seen failure is that maybe that salesman stops maybe after visit number 6 and then just never closes
Digging
the
for
deal.
diamonds. Digging for diamonds.
Yeah. So, I mean, I say that, even for people interested in building a business, and not even in the cigar world, but just any salesman, like just be consistent, just keep showing
And-
conveying to the buyer that you're in it in the long term. You want to be a partner.
And
And that's why the accessory line was so vital, because those 7 visits, 3 of those was selling them lighters. Maybe not selling the cigar,
Right.
But like I said,
But you were able to gain some
trust.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that ugly guy's coming in here to sell me some lighters again, but he's got a cigar this time. Let's look at it.
Yeah, sure.
And another thing too, these guys might not buy anything from you at all year, and then they're sitting down at the booth and they're at their show and they're looking around at the booth and they're like, man, who has been at my shop the most, or who has been at my shop consistently? Who have I really connected with? Oh yeah, Fish Foundation, Cavalier, 724. I'm going to go over to there and see what they're about and everything else, and then they'll drop the bag on you, and that's just what it is.
I love all this hip talk. Dropping the bag.
Well, look, I mean, we value just Habana Port, value the relationship we've developed with the Fishers, and
Likewise.
it's awesome. So, and I got to compliment you guys on the branding. I've always loved, just to give you some, little opinion, the brand Cigar Fish and the logo. Who came up with that?
Tell them the story. Tell them the story.
I was starting my brokerage, and I had quit my job, and I was getting ready to do this, and I had been in the printing industry long enough. I've seen logos and business cards, and so I had, and I'm relatively creative anyway. I'm a photographer.
Okay.
So I thought, okay, and I didn't want to go in and say, hi, my name is Brad. Because, and I know a lot of other Brads, we have the same stories. You go, hey, my name is Brad. They go, nice to meet you, Brian.
You get, You get lost in the sea of
Brad is, and then, I can just imagine somebody go, well, some guy in here was named Greg, selling cigars. So, but if you say you're Fish,
easy.
they remember that.
Yeah,
That was my nickname forever. And so I would go into a cigar shop that third time, and I'd see the owner, and he'd go, so you're Fish. So like it's like he remembered there's some guy named Fish came in.
Yep.
So anyway, and I was looking for a Fish, a badass looking logo, and I got on one of those
like Fivers or freelance.
the stock images.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And for $4, I could download that Fish, and I drew the cigar in the fashion that the fish was drawn, and I'm pretty good with Photoshop.
Yeah.
And I dropped the cigar in his mouth, and I thought, I was trying to think of fish, cigar, and then there's actually a cigar fish. There's in the ocean, there's a cigar, or lakes or whatever. There is a cigar fish.
Oh, yeah, I've heard. Now that you mentioned that,
believe it or not,
there's a species
they
called
look
cigar.
about they're not about that big.
Oh.
So I thought I'll call it cigar fish, and I picked a crazy font and went with it, and everybody I remember with all those brands. I remember going in my cigar shops and seeing all those brands. The only way they're going to remember me is if I'm different.
So you found some strategy to differentiate yourself and like imprint like a memory of you with retailers.
Yes,
We advertise ourselves as like the one-stop shop. You know what I mean? We take care of everything that you need in a cigar shop to get started or whatever else the case may be.
Yeah.
So where I was going with something, I have to cut that part.
Draw on it. Oh,
Well, no, you mentioned that you Photoshop that Cigar Fish logo. I mean, it's very brandable.
Oh
Like,
yeah, pretty soon everybody wanted to buy T-shirts with my logo on.
I was gonna say you could almost merchandise that.
We do that. We do now.
Yeah.
Okay.
My youngest, my
brother.
stepson.
Interesting.
It runs a company called cigarfishgear.com.
Well, I'm gonna have to check that out and buy some merch. That's really cool.
Call me up for a discount code.
Okay.
I'll give you a discount.
if you want to sell on your shop too, that'd be cool too.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Well, guys, I appreciate the time. Now, before we sign off, we have a final segment, if you would. It's a rapid fire round. So I'll ask a question. Brad can answer first, and then you. Are you up for it?
I'm ready.
Okay. Number 1, Tabasco, Crystal, or other hot sauce?
Tabasco.
Tabasco all day.
Okay.
Specifically, Chipotle. The Chipotle Tabasco. Have you ever had it?
Oh, I've heard of that.
Oh,
I think another rep mentioned that.
Oh my god.
That was his favorite.
It's the only one I get now.
Huh. I'm gonna have to try
On
that out.
eggs, on everything, whatever.
Tabasco Chipotle. Okay.
Yeah.
That's for okay. I'm gonna try that out. Number 2, favorite travel destination.
Aruba.
Aruba, okay.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to go Mexico, Cancun.
Okay. Number 3, the ideal person you'd want to smoke a cigar with, alive or deceased?
David Lee Roth.
I'm gonna go Ed Reed.
Oh, okay.
Is he a football player?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And he has.
We actually carry a cigar.
Yeah, yeah. I would love to smoke a cigar with Ed Reed.
Yeah. Number 4. All right, with cigar industry people, I kind of twist it up. So, what's your favorite or your desert island cigar from any of the companies that you rep? And what's a favorite or desert island cigar from a company you don't rep?
One of my favorites. I have a favorite cigar of it in every line.
Okay. If you want to run by those down, you can do that too.
no,
That's pretty much.
just
That's
so you
pretty.
know,
It's
just
tough
so
for
you know,
us. It's tough for us to do that because
Because you have so many
It's so
brands.
good. We have a lot of good
do
ones.
I think my cigar crack is the Foundation Tabernacle Broadleaf Torpedo.
Okay.
I get to smoke
It's
that.
a smaller format too.
Yeah,
of a
smaller.
torpedo.
It's
Yeah,
the size
yeah.
of a Robusto, but it's a torpedo. And if I've been a good salesman, they send me a box every once in a while.
There you go. Yeah. How about you, Reed?
So, I'm gonna name a couple because I can't name it just one.
Yeah.
724 Hustler is my bread and butter.
Okay.
The barber pole, that one's amazing. The Inner Circle Blue Label from Cavalier, the Illusion Habano, and the Olmec Claro.
Yeah.
Those are
I like the Olmec Claro a little bit more than Maduro. I mean, they're both good.
for sure.
Typically, I'm a Maduro guy, but I think the Claro's
Olmec
better than
Claro
that.
is just so good.
Cool. All right, number 5. Who would you want to see here on a future podcast?
Kurt
Yeah.
Kendall.
Kurt Kendall. Okay.
Kurt Kendall would be awesome.
Oh,
Yeah,
so-
yeah,
yeah.
actually, I'll go with that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Kurt Kendall.
He's
Very good.
he's probably the nicest guy in the
Yeah.
industry. Not taking away.
No,
from
no,
music.
yeah. No, he is. I mean, we used to rep him and just stand out class act from New Hampshire, and it's awesome seeing a guy. He's also a cigar nerd,
Yeah.
reviving this vintage cigar brand for sure. Well, guys, thanks again. Appreciate you taking
Thanks
the
for having
time
us
and
here.
visiting us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
Appreciate y'all having me on.
appreciate everyone for tuning in. Until the next cigar, we'll see you later.